Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a warm welcome to all our guests and attendees today for the second episode of the Digital Dialogues. This week's episode is titled Cloud Without Chaos: Architecting Superior Business Outcomes Through Multi and Hybrid Clouds. We shall commence the event shortly. We have an interesting set of sessions and dialogues lined up for you today. Please use the chat functionality to ask questions, and a panel of subject matter experts will address them. We would also request you to kindly take a few minutes post the event to fill up the feedback form. Your feedback and recommendations are important for us to enhance future events for you. The first session is a business dialogue with Mr. Tejveer Bhogal, AVP Governance and Alliances, Benetton Coleman Company Limited, and is moderated by Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Research Officer, Strategy. The segment is titled Hybrid and Multi-Clouds: Reimagining Technology, Opportunities and Business Outcomes in the New Normal. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a privilege to welcome you to the second episode of the Digital Dialogues with Arjun Vishwanathan. Today, we are going to be in an interesting set of conversations on how organizations must cloud now, since the entire cloud journeys are set to define and align the transformation across industries. In this, business agility or the need to speed from IT is the most powerful trigger and the factor that is most important for considering a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud architecture and orchestration, as opposed to cost and access to new functionalities. Most industry predictions state that within the next 18 to 24 months, the majority of organizations will tend to rely on a mix of on-premises and dedicated private cloud, several public clouds, and legacy platforms to meet their infrastructure and data capability needs. But perhaps what is important is that the recent industry disruption has shown us that this 18 to 24 months may be at a level of contraction to between 6 and 9 months. Well, that is what surveys tell us. The keywords, therefore, for industry in this transformative digital economy are going to be hyperspeed and hyperscale. And to talk about all of this is a man who needs no introduction. Please welcome Tejveer Bhogal, AVP Governance and IT Alliances for the Benetton Coleman Group, which is the parent holding company of the Times of India. Tejveer, welcome. And we are not only glad, but it is a privilege to have you with us today to share your views and your thoughts in the second episode of the Digital Dialogues. Tejveer, if I may be allowed to come to you
Good.
directly, thank you. If I may be allowed to come to you directly, one of the very, very basic tenets of how IT and technology are perceived today is that, well, classically, about 6 months back, there were many strategies and many clouds or many cloud orchestrations. The recent events, such as have shown us that that is no more the reality. And in fact, we may be indeed living in a set of reimagined realities where business objectives and business outcomes are entirely different. How, Tejveer, in your view, as an IT leader, somebody who's for years and decades got his hands dirty in orchestrating very, very sustainable and viable cloud journeys, um, how do you see this multi-cloud, hybrid cloud kind of an orchestration play out in achieving business outcomes, especially in today's day and age, using today as a baseline, sir, but peering into the future through the lens of an opportunity, really?
Sure, Arjun. Thank you once again for having me for this dialogue. And it's always a privilege to have these candid conversations with you
True that.
on topics which are very, very diversified. Yes, I believe in today's environment, in today's times, the business requirements are changing, especially looking into considering the current COVID pandemic that is gripping the entire country and the globe. So, if I were to answer your question in three parts, I would like to take some time and give you some perspective of the media industry as to what we were struggling with over the last 5 to 10 years, what is our current scenario, and what's the future looks like. So, let me just step back and give you a scenario. About 4 to 6 years back,
Mm.
the media, especially the print and the publishing side of the vertical that we belong to primarily, uh, was grappling with the challenges being posed by the legacy applications. At that point in time, if considering BCCL, we were one of those first runners to adopt cloud as a platform to a very, very basic need of the employee.
Mm.
And that was the beginning for us. Uh, that was the first step that we took from a cloud journey perspective. And I would, take special mention of organizations such as Accenture, who are actually collaborating with BCCL in terms of identifying a digital transformation journey for BCCL. So I think that was the stepping stone. And while we took those baby steps, we went ahead with the first cloud adoption of Microsoft Office 365 as a platform. And that was, again, a hybrid environment. It was not a pure play cloud environment. And we were the first ones in the country to go on a hybrid model. And surprising, not just in the media vertical, but across various industries. And this I'm talking about almost 7 years back, 6, 7 years back. So we take pride in being number one and looking at innovations or new solutions to adopt for our consumers or for our internal customers. So that's the first step that we took. Having said that, we realized that yes, there is a lot of benefit in terms of moving to a cloud environment, but there were challenges as well.
True, true.
Benefits one, which I can share with you, uh, was the ease by virtue of which you were able to successfully deliver to the end customer or get the consumer on board.
In
So
your
that,
case, the reader.
in our case, the reader, that's one part of it. The reader or internal employees or even the advertiser for us.
True, very
Okay.
important.
So that's point number one. Point number two is the way the IT can function. I think cloud gives us the opportunity to explore out
Mm.
and focus more on the SLAs rather than the nuts and bolts of the entire platform.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the second advantage. Uh, talking about the flip of it, which is the negative. The challenge is that publishing is a very, very legacy driven organization or a legacy driven industry, if I were to put it.
True, true, true.
The applications or the architecture that we have is so old. Uh, and considering that we ourselves are 180 years old,
Yes,
uh,
indeed.
so you can understand that technology may or may not have advanced to the level that we anticipate.
Mm.
And that's where it poses a question mark for all the cloud partners, that does the legacy applications also have been transitioned or rewritten or recoded to the level where which to the level where it is probably uh, amiable to a cloud environment.
True. And did you manage to therefore, considering you've spoken about legacy, and I'm sure this is well something that's on everybody's mind is uh, the way I think organizations tend to view matters today is anything that's about a little more than 2 years old is, well, legacy one form or the other. Therefore, how did you either repurpose or retool or revamp really the entire architecture at your end to be able to have it inflect in a fairly seamless fashion, if at all, with your cloud journeys?
So let me answer that in a different way, because there's no straight answer to that, Arjun, because some of the legacy applications are still the same. They're still not on the cloud because it's a client server architecture. But as you rightly mentioned, that yes, we did some changes. We brought some changes to our infrastructure which supports that application. And that's where we brought the cloud perspective to it, wherein we implemented our own private cloud.
Okay.
And we kind of migrated all those legacy environments to the private cloud environment, purely to provide that highly scalable and agile infrastructure.
That is very, very interesting. Now, Tejvid, I must really, considering you've said this, I must interject and with your permission, ask you this question. Now, at a certain point in time when you made the decision to transition to a private cloud kind of a IT environment, what were those business imperatives that you felt mandated such a move?
Amazing question, Arjun. Thank you for asking. See, as you would understand that we every now and then we are grappling with the requirements and the requests coming from our business, and the business is primarily working in terms of either impacting the reader
Correct?
or addressing the our own customer requirements, which is the advertisers.
Oh,
Okay,
yes, indeed.
and every now and then what happens is there's a request coming for a platform, request is coming for an application to be created or developed, or there are campaigns that we need to run for our various business verticals and business functions. So that were some of the levers which forced us to really come out and think out of the box as to how we can cater to their requirements. Otherwise, the cycle is that the requirements are such in nature that you have to deliver and be to beat the competition, you have to be available and be ready with the go-to-market scenario in just about a couple of weeks.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
that is where it helped us take a decision that yes, we should go ahead for a private cloud, whereby we are always ready for the business, and on the go we can scale in, scale out, expand vertically, horizontally, and cater to the business requirements.
Oh, very, 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 very interesting. Because my next question to you, Tejvi, is really, do you see this as a dichotomy of sorts? Therefore, uh, that today, Indian industry and just perhaps not Indian industry, but the global set of organizations and corporate houses are increasingly looking at the multi-cloud journey as being one that will perhaps inflict significantly more value while maintaining shades of on-prem, private cloud, and other orchestrations.
A different perspective, and let me share. Yes, you're right. We all were looking in that direction where a multi-cloud environment was the need of the hour. But looking at the current scenario, the challenges that we are facing from an economy perspective, the challenges that we are facing from a business requirements which are changing now, I think it's consolidation which is on the cards now. Had this industry or had the global scenario would not have got impacted through this
Yes, the
COVID
human
pandemic.
tragedy at its most fundamental level.
Correct. So, had we not been witnessing this tragic environment, I think we would have still continued with that multi-cloud environment, and things would have gone in the same direction. But today, I think everybody wants to do a consolidation, wants to take stock as to what is important, what is not important, what is.
Prioritization of, yeah.
So it's self-realization, business realization, business requirement understanding, and then possibly whatever investments that need to be done and then need to be considered accordingly.
But Tejit Bhogal, I must come to you, and this is for the benefit of the wider audience, really. Uh, you must throw some light and expand on what are those finer, specific nuances in the media and entertainment, specifically publishing industry, that would require senior IT practitioners and professionals and business decision makers, really, such as yourselves, to make one decision as against the other. Uh, for the simple reason that across a very detailed survey that Strategy Insights conducted a few weeks back, organizations, like you're rightly saying, realize that consolidation uh, and the benefits of interoperability and, well, near real-time availability of data were allowing them to manifest and render cloud orchestrations in a much more simplistic and flexible manner. And therefore, from the publishing industry, really, if I were to ask you, what would be those mandates that would make you, well, realize one decision against the other?
So, see, Arjun, I fully appreciate the point that you're trying to make here that data is something which is very critical to any industry, any organization, and we are no exception. In fact, we as an organization, we are the creators of that content,
True that.
right? So we produce data every day, which is consumed by lakhs and lakhs of readers, whether via a physical newspaper or via e-paper, which is the other platform that we launched very recently in India.
In fact,
Again,
I have been one of the largest consumers of the e-paper, at least for the first 45 days of the lockdown. because where I stay, physical newspapers weren't allowed till about 2 weeks back. And I thought that was a brilliant initiative.
Yeah, and today, happy to share that yes, in India we have introduced the paywall as well, whereby now
Wow.
users can subscribe and they have to pay a very nominal fee for that. That could be a monthly or a yearly subscription. So that, having said that, see, data is very important. Now, two things that we need to understand from a data perspective, and two things which should really talk about is, one is the information security of that data.
Yes, true that.
Okay. And the other part is that how is it that we can leverage that information or the data that is being produced.
Hmm.
Uh, our business, especially the publishing side of it, the content that we create is consumed by the consumers. The
True.
data that we want to collect is of those consumers,
Right.
so that we can circle back and see and explore how we can leverage that information to gain more readership.
Correct.
Okay, now putting all of that information on a cloud environment is something which may or may not yield benefit.
Hmm.
Okay, the reason why I'm saying that, if we put it on a cloud, and I'm just saying, and this is quote unquote, uh, who will take the guarantee for information security of that data?
Hmm.
While everybody believes that data is secure, but then most of the cloud environments which are available today are outside the country. As a mandate, media organizations cannot allow the data to be resided outside the country.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some of the partners have claimed that yes, the data centers are very much there in India, but then the information security piece is still being questioned every now and then, especially if you look at all these ransomware attacks, malware attacks spreading to the likes of large IT organizations globally and in India as well. So one has to really, really think twice or thrice before taking a decision of putting that important data on the cloud.
True. I think you brought out a fair point, but I must ask you to balance in my next question, really. Uh, the How do you balance the very immense potential and possibilities uh, that multi-cloud orchestrations offer to business organizations and enterprises versus uh, an inherent intrinsic, perhaps, fear of data security, considering that if you look at industry as a whole today, the a blend of on-prem, private cloud, and public cloud is really how organizations are architecting their entire infrastructure and uh, workflows and data workloads, really to say as much. How do you kind of balance that in your day-to-day life when you're called in to make significant decisions?
So, Arjun, let me give you a different perspective, especially from a media house, coming from a media house. And this is basis my limited knowledge and assessment. On-prem, cloud, or a multi-cloud architecture. Uh, Typically, as leaders, we need to identify as to what are the risks that we can take from data perspective, from
Mhm.
a platform perspective, and accordingly put it in each of these buckets.
Mhm.
So, for example, anything which is core to my organization, which is business critical, I would prefer it to have it on a on-prem environment. Okay. The reason why I say that, especially from a security perspective, from an information security, and from a manageability perspective,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's my core bread and butter. Can I take the risk of putting it on cloud environment as of today? That's the question that I have to answer.
Mhm.
Okay, basis the assessment, yes, one can take a decision. Today, the media houses probably will keep it on prem, basis my limited assessment. The multi-cloud architecture, yes, definitely, there we ourselves are on a multi-cloud environment today. And as I said, that would primarily depend on the business requirements and the business imperatives.
Mhm.
The go-to bucket, the need for speed, looking at more with less investment, all these factors may drive that decision today. The second thing which probably we as leaders grapple with is, can the partners do something from a interoperability perspective? Today, I am on a, let's say, I'm on Azure, and my application, the entire environment is on Azure. If I were to migrate from Azure to an AWS, what is the support? What are what is the feasibility of migrating, number one? And second, what is the support that the partner is providing me?
So,
And
taking
how
this,
quickly I can do that?
and how quickly, how agile and flexible can it be?
So
No, but
these
I
are the
must.
questions that I need to, get answers to, and then possibly, we can take a decision that yes, let's look at a single cloud environment or a multi-cloud environment.
No, I think the timing of a conversation is fairly fortuitous for the simple reason that I think the audience at large that is hearing us today has predominantly similar questions running through their minds. Uh, but perhaps I must equally ask you is that if you were to look at the overall partner ecosystem, the OEM ecosystem, uh, using today as the baseline, you spoke about ransomware, you spoke about, well, unprecedented security threats. Uh, these have happened. If you were to take them as a baseline and be able to, well, through a crystal glass, peer into the future, what is it, in your opinion, in your estimate, and in your wish list, really? Would you want the entire partner ecosystem to come up in terms of innovative solutions that will help allay those fears, that will help put to rest those niggling worries or challenges, as you may want to call it, that seem to be hindering uh, what really is potentially a win-win for all? What would be your essential guidance to the partner ecosystem?
So Arjun, I think you have brought a very significant point over here, which talks about the entire partner ecosystem. Today, I strongly believe that not just the partners, the OEMs, but also
Mm.
the service providers and the solution providers who engage with these OEMs and kind of have a discussion with the businesses, especially like ours. I think we need to collaborate. We really need to understand the business challenges that we face, what are our imperatives, and accordingly come and reach out and create a solution specific to a vertical.
True,
I
true.
think that's the need of the hour today. Because what is happening from a even within the media entertainment, a publishing requirement would vary in totality rather than what is happening on the digital front.
True, true.
See, as I shared earlier as well, the publishing side faces a lot of challenges due to the legacy applications. But the digital arm of the BCCL and Times Grow,
Which are
Times Entertainment,
predominantly cloud native or born
it's
on the cloud.
primarily cloud, because the applications, the entire environment has to be delivered in a matter of few days,
True.
and you can't go on the procurement process of having the infrastructure in place first and then creating the application environment and then going to the market. Every second counts over there. So I think they are the businesses, the digital businesses would go in for a multi-cloud and multi-architecture environment, and rightly so. But then the important aspect would be as to how the OEMs and how the partner ecosystem creates that solution portfolio for those specific verticals. And I think we as businesses, we would be more than happy to engage with these OEMs and the partners so that they can come out with such solutions.
Yes, a very symbiotic relationship that will fuel innovation and partnership for growth. But I must take a pause here because I must, for the wider audience, Tejveer and I go a fairly long way back, and I can recollect about a couple of years back, or maybe it was 2.5 years back, Tejveer, when I was in conversation with him for a different reason, brought out a very beautiful point saying, Arjun, you must understand that one of my jobs is to leverage digital to drive print. Tejveer, how this is about 2.5 years back, and I cannot but help recollect and remember that very expansive conversation where you articulated your views in such a nuanced manner. How does that hold true today, especially with the backdrop of the industry-wide business disruption that we have seen, the opportunities that the cloud orchestration enables? How would you, as one of the senior most in the industry, bring that about?
So thank you for putting me on the spot again, Arjun, as always. Uh, I think you brought on a very important aspect of our business, which is the print. And it has been our endeavor to focus as to how we can engage with our reader
Hmm.
on varied platforms, be it on a print platform or a digital platform, but ensuring that the reader comes back to the print.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
a Citizen Reporter app, which we
Yes,
launched about a couple of years back,
a
is
resounding success, I am given to understand.
yes, fairly successful. And I can share with the audience that that's the only application, or that's the only medium by virtue of which we have been able to address some of these civic nuances of people reporting and working back with the agencies, authorities, and addressing those, and then publishing the articles with the addressed or with the solution.
It's
So,
almost like partnership with community to give back to society, isn't it?
and that's where it said citizen. See, again, end of the day, we have empowered each and every citizen to become a reporter for us and for the noble cause. Actually, it is not something that yes, we are monetizing it, but then it is for a noble cause, and it's for their own benefit, it's for our own benefit, we as consumers, we as readers, we as citizens. So yes, that is there. Having said that, I think in today's environment, yes, things have changed, times have changed, and while our focus is still on print, but as I just shared a while ago, we have also gone ahead and launched our e-paper in India behind a paywall. So
Very interesting.
it can it shows as to yes, we are not averse to the idea, but then yes, we want to leverage each and every platform which is available for us in terms of monetization and explore. Another aspect, Arjun, which I want to highlight over here. See, uh, by virtue of using these digital platforms, we are collating information, and that's data. And as part of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, data is the new oil.
Oh, yes, it is.
So,
Indeed.
end of the day, that data has to be leveraged, has to be considered, relooked upon, whereby we would be looking at how is it that we can further understand our readers, what are the nuances, what's their thought process, and thereby going back to business and say, okay, fine, can we do something more out of it? So, that's where I think we are headed now. And
So,
looking at the current scenario, I think that would be a good start.
so Tejveer, I must really come to you and ask you this. And given that we now have a fair bit of disruption behind us, thankfully,
Yes.
um, and the way forward now is to look ahead, really.
Correct.
Uh, I think the important keywords that industry is going to be looking at is fundamentally two of them, which is scale and agility.
Correct.
Um, in in a in a model that is well orchestrated with workloads and data residing across agnostic of space, clouds, and geographical areas. Now, therefore, do you, in your estimate and your experience, really see skill and agility being two very important business outcomes that can be achieved and realized uh, by people strategizing and therefore deploying slash implementing a hybrid cloud kind of orchestration within their IT infrastructure and applications?
So, in my personal opinion, 100%, I totally agree with that statement of yours that yes, going forward, because we are looking at unprecedented scenarios,
Yeah, never uncertain the future.
this is the new, so as we call it, this is the new norm.
This
The
is the new
baseline
norm.
has
And
changed,
I'm
right?
given to understand it's quite the abused word as we go along
Yes,
because
everybody is talking about this, right? And this is the new way of life. And I strongly believe, in my personal opinion, this would be the right time to look at such environment whereby you can go to market and address those uh, requirements of your business and the consumers on the fly. And for that, this multi-cloud environment could become a big, I would say, lever for your advantage, or for
what
any business advantage.
and apart from scale and agility, really, Tejveer, what do you feel will be the ancillary benefits of organizations and the audience at large today that is hearing us in conversation? Uh, what are those business benefits that they could look forward to if they were to put mind to matter and start planning for such orchestration journeys over maybe the next 3 or 6 months, really?
So see, from purely commercial perspective, I see when you're looking at a cloud environment, one of the things that you can look at is cost savings.
Mm.
When you are looking at an on-prem environment, you end up investing a lot on infrastructure, and
Yes.
that infrastructure probably gets dated after 3 years or 2 years, depending on the industry that you are in. If you are in a highly competitive environment and a digital environment, your infrastructure requirements tend to increase many folds,
Yes, indeed.
quarter by quarter, year by year. If
Indeed.
you are in that environment, I strongly believe so. And again, this is purely my personal opinion that the cost inflation is very high when it comes to an on-prem environment. But if you're in a cloud environment, the partner ecosystem and the partner support system is so flexible that you end up spending only what is required by you. And you can either do in a very layman term, you can scale up or scale down, and the
Scale
partner
down.
bills you accordingly. So I think that's where some flexibility from the partner ecosystem is there, and we should leverage that as businesses.
Outstanding. But therefore, the following question and in subsequent progression is, if that is the way forward as you're articulating it as well as you are, what is that and such innovation that you would expect from OEMs, folks like Dell Technologies, hypothetically, that would really spur on and help organizations speed up and hasten the entire process of considering such architectures and orchestration?
So there's no easy answer to that.
The none whatsoever, which is why I'm the one asking the questions and you're the one answering them.
Yeah. So so let me take a pause here
Please
and
do.
think as to what could be the right answer for the audience, because the end of the day, this entire dialogue is for the audience.
Yes, indeed.
But yes, I think the partner ecosystem plays a very important role again over here, Arjun. And every industry, every vertical, the expectation is totally different. Uh, Having said that, I think somewhere down the line, players like Dell, as you have mentioned, the OEMs like Dell, what they really need to do is they need to think and create a platform which could serve as a standard across verticals. And then for each of the vertical, kind of create a different approach, though it's asking too much. But I think that's the need of the hour today. Uh, Globally, they will have to come out with a verticalized solution rather than a horizontal solution for each of these verticals. And that can only happen through collaboration, which I talked about in my previous dialogue with you. Collaboration is key. Understanding the business requirements is key. Understanding the business challenge is key. Looking at the ROI. See, what is more important is while everybody is talking about cost and all, but that ROI has to be there for the business. Then only they will be able to invest that.
True that.
The turnaround time has to be considered.
To
The
be able
data
to
security.
quantify success.
See, end of the day, you have, see, it has to be a win-win scenario. Uh, if there is no win for the business, there's no win for you. And for that, you will
True
have
that.
to put some money into it. As we say always, jitna gur dalenge utna meetha hoga.
Yes, indeed so.
So,
Indeed
so
so.
you have to invest. I think that's the right word which I was looking at. The investment has to come from the OEM in some form or shape. And I think this is the time when they can do that, walk that journey with the business, along with the business, invest in the business, and probably 6 to 9 months down the line, they will reap the benefit of
So, Tejveer, I must ask you also for the audience that, well, today comprises of senior IT professionals, CIOs, IT leaders. If you were to be able to help them navigate what promises to be a fairly complex journey going ahead and help them peer into the future and look at the future via this crisis through the lens of opportunity, what would be your maybe 2 or 3 points of very essential guidance that you would use as tenets for them to be able to undertake such multi-cloud, hybrid cloud orchestration journeys, really. What is your advice, Tejveer Bhogal?
So I think it would be primarily addressing around three areas, and this is not something which I'm reinventing. It's known to everybody. It could be just a refresher. I think one of the first and the foremost things that we should look at is as to how we can achieve more with a lesser investment. I think if today, if I understand the challenges which any business, forget about just a media and entertainment vertical, but any business today, I think the biggest challenge is that is how is it that we can invest minimal and extract the maximum. So that's number one. I think second is how is it that we can look at repurposing the resources that we have and trying to increase their productivity and leverage that to our benefit.
Correct.
When I
Correct.
say our benefit, to the organization benefit, again it is see, again it will circle back to the overall impact to the organization, and that too in the on the revenue side of it. Okay. third
Indeed.
would- and the third aspect is how is it that we can monetize the existing investments that we have already made within the organization, be it in terms of people, be it in terms of process, be it in terms of technology. I think that's the key as of today.
Very, very, very powerful, impactful points. So, which really prompts me to ask you one additional question there. Is last two odd months have really uh, shown us that kind of unprecedented displacement and disruption that were, well, fairly theoretical at a certain point in time in our past, uh, leading to, well, almost near situations where business continuity by itself was threatened. In your estimate, Tejveer, do you feel that uh, having the ability of dispersed workloads across uh, clouds, really, or geographical areas, really, or some part of it on-prem, some part of it on a private, do they, in your estimate, will they uh, help in driving business continuity tomorrow? God forbid we were to be faced with such a situation. Help us fashion our response in a better manner. Indian industry, really.
So, Arjun, let me ask you a
And
question.
I'm going to, sure, please,
So,
please, by all means.
now, let me put you on the spot over here. Did you ever anticipate that you will have a work from home environment ever
Never
in your
ever.
life,
Honestly, and
which is spanning decades?
I'll be brutally honest. I think work from home to the largest degree was fairly looked down upon in a certain time back in the day, because, well, it essentially meant that you'd work for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, but basically do other chores around the house. But I must admit that over the last two odd months now, it has taken on proportions that are unfathomable. And well, I could never have imagined a situation such as this. God willing, I never hope to want to imagine another set of disruptions in this manner. But why did you really? I mean, the purpose of your question, really, sir.
So, see, uh, so you answered it in a way, because your statements was the answer to your own question.
Sure.
Change is imminent,
Yes.
Arjun, and it's about time. I think we as leaders we need to expand our thought process horizons and really explore as to what are the things that are really important. Last 2.5 months, in my personal experience, purely coming from my personal life experience, I never had imagined that I'll work from home.
True.
Okay, but what it has really made me realize in a personal capacity, what are the things that are important to me.
Oh, very interesting.
Okay, I think the quality time that I have been able to spend with my family, that's super important. And second is we have been running after so many things which we never really wanted.
Yes.
Now, relating that to a professional environment, can we revisit our professional environment and see as to what are the things, what are the resources that we do not want, but we may have because of legacy or we may have because of other nuances? Can we revisit those? And one of those three tenets which I talked about earlier, that can we look at repurposing those resources. Now, whether that is having an on-prem environment, whether that is having a multi-cloud environment or a cloud environment or a cloud architecture or a hybrid scenario, I think these are some of the things that we really need to revisit. And sooner or later, I strongly believe that yes, every leaders like ourselves, we will be kind of taking hard decisions on that,
Yes, indeed, indeed.
and rightly so, because that's the need of the hour.
So Tejveer, and I do have a view on the clock, sir. But if I were to come over and ask you, if you were to look into the future, if we had the ability to, especially from a cloud orchestration point of view for Indian industry, and not necessarily the media and entertainment and publishing industry by itself, but if you were to be able to peer into the future for Indian industry as a whole, what would be your two real predictions about the cloud journeys that are going to pan out over, let's say, the next 12 to 18 months?
I'm an optimist, Arjun,
Wonderful.
to the core.
We,
I strongly believe that we as a country and we as leaders, we have the ability to really think out of the box and make our individual respective businesses successful. And in doing so, I strongly believe multi-cloud architecture or different OEMs coming out with different solutions will contribute a lot to this industry. And I look at that, yes, in the next 4 to 6 quarters, we may see a huge positive upside to all the businesses.
Outstanding, and I perhaps couldn't have put it better. Tejveer, that's pretty much what we have time for in this episode. And I must tell you that as a friend, as a mentor that you have been to me over the last very many years, it has been an absolute privilege to have been in dialogue with you. We thank you for taking
Likewise,
out time
Arjun,
today.
as always. Anytime, Arjun.
Thank you
It's
so
always a
much.
pleasure to have discussions and dialogues with you. Thank you so much for giving me this
Thank you
opportunity.
so very much. For the audience, you were watching me, Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Research Officer at Strateging, in conversation and dialogue with Tejveer Bhogal, AVP, Governance and Alliances at the Benetton Coleman Group, the parent company of the Times of India. And clearly, what he's brought out is fairly clear, is that legacy will have to find a way to exist along with new and emerging technologies. The future continues to remain bright so long as our levels of optimism continue to same at the same levels that we would like them to. And at the end of the day, that cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, a mixture of on-prem, private cloud, and other public cloud orchestrations are the way forward, so long as organizations are able to map the quantifiable business benefits and outcomes that will arise out of such orchestration. Please stay tuned for the next segment. We will continue to be with you and join you in a short while. Thank you so very much. It's been a delight speaking with all of you and having you join us. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Bogle, for your candid views and for sharing your experiences around architecting viable business outcomes via multi and hybrid cloud orchestrations. Stay tuned for the next session. The next session is titled In Conversation Scaling Rate of Innovation with Hybrid and Multi Cloud. Moderated by Arjun Vishwanathan, the panelists are Mr. Saji Kumar, Director M&A Alliances, Microsoft; Mr. Venkat Vardarajan, Head Cloud and Web Tech for Intel India; and Mr. Srini Rao, Senior Director, Systems Engineering, Dell Technologies. Welcome back to the Digital Dialogues with Arjun Vishwanathan. We are in segment two of a very, very interesting set of conversations about hybrid and multi-cloud journeys and orchestrations that organizations are undertaking. Uh, how organizations cloud now really is set to define and align the transformation across industries. No surprise, perhaps, that in this, business agility or the need for speed from IT is the most important trigger for considering a multi cloud approach, as opposed to costs and access to new functionality. In changed realities, this has been made more real, clear, and present, given the business disruption that we have and are experiencing. Most industry predictions state that within the next 6 to 9 months, the majority of organizations will tend to rely on a mix of on-prem and dedicated private cloud, several public clouds, and legacy platforms. To discuss all of this and much, much more, I have the pleasure and the privilege of having very, very eminent personalities from industry. And in no specific order, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Srini Rao, Senior Director, System Engineering, Dell Technologies. Srini, welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you,
Venkat,
Arjun.
thank you, sir. Venkat Vardarajan, Head Cloud and Web Tech for Intel India. Venkat, a pleasure that you could join us today. And last but not the least, Sajid Kumar, Director M&E Alliances, Microsoft. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
welcome, and it is lovely to be speaking and in dialogue and in conversation with you for the second episode of the Digital Dialogues. Uh, and jumping straight into the whole thing, Srini, if I were to come to you,
Yeah.
in a post-disrupted industry scenario, an analyst's view of things is, well, many strategies, many clouds. Now, how as a technology leader do you see the multi-cloud orchestration really playing out? What do you think will be the real business value, inflection, and the outcomes that will define how organizations approach and adopt the whole hybrid or multi-cloud journeys, please?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Arjun. Thank you for having me in your show. It's my pleasure to be part of your entire, other panelists along with me. You brought up a very interesting topic, Arjun, which is more relevant in today's context. Before I directly answer your question, I want to confirm to all my viewers that cloud is not a destination, but it's an operating model, which will really address the customer business outcomes. I think we have been hearing a lot of comments, people talking about cloud is a kind of destination to host applications and all those things. But for me, I treat that as an operating model to really addressing the customer business outcomes. Many organizations who have been looking to digitally transform usually use cloud as the logical next step towards making this transition. Cloud is getting a lot of buzz and attention, and as a result, we have seen a lot of influence on the public cloud adoption. Many organizations focus on cloud-first mindset, meaning they believe many things should move to the cloud. This approach can create challenges when it comes to data. This approach is very, very dangerous in my view. And considering the access and the access fees, data gravity, latency, data lock-in, and even compliance and other control issues that may arise. So this is not to take anything away from the cloud, but it needs to be a part of the overall strategy as opposed to be the only strategy. The reality is you need to have a data-first mindset. That's very, very crucial in today's business environment, which ultimately should drive hybrid or the multi-cloud strategy. This allows you to ensure that your most valuable assets is in the right place at the right time and with the right SLA. So in my view, multi-cloud is a reality. Organizations are increasingly using multiple combinations of on-prem and leveraging few of the public clouds to deploy their application. This is where hybrid cloud approach can help organizations to achieve their multi-cloud dream through the hybrid cloud approach. So viewers, I would suggest that, okay, multi-cloud is a kind of reality, and that's the best way to really deploy in the customer environments to address the business challenges which they have been going through.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Saji, if I may come to you, the man at the center of, well, perhaps all of it, multi-cloud strategies, can you help us peer into beyond the hype?
So first of all, thank you, Arjun, for inviting me as part of this esteemed audience. I'm really, really privileged to be here. Like my friend Srini also mentioned, we all know that the whole world is gripped by this pandemic, and let's say if you look at some of the verticals like the global manufacturing, supply chain, everything is experiencing a level of disruption that we have never experienced or seen before. However, I would say that this crisis will certainly catalyze some huge changes, and one of that is cloud computing. Let's say businesses that use cloud computing will definitely not buckle under pressure, because you will see an increased demand on such cases. Because if you look at today, what is that, every organization needs? Like Srini also mentioned, right? Data. Data is going to be the fuel of your growth. So agility, scalability, buzzwords, right? You need flexibility as well. When you're looking at an organization's growth, you need a lot of flexibility apart from scalability as well. That's when this multi-cloud environment is going to be the key, and that is definitely something which will be looked upon by many of the customers at this point in time.
Very interesting. Venkat Varadarajan, Intel India. Venkat, Intel Insight. Uh, what is the inside view of how you are expecting organizations to undertake what is, well, sounds fairly simplistic, but is indeed, at the end of it, a fairly complex journey? And where is the value orientation within all of this? What's your view from an Intel standpoint?
Hey Arjun, first of all, thanks for having me here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so taking on from what Srini was mentioning about multi-cloud, right? Intel's point of view is absolutely same. The multi-cloud is here to stay. Um, if you look at most of our customers have some workload on public cloud, and then a lot of the value specific workloads on-prem. And even the industry neutral bodies like IDC, if you take their report, they suggest even by 2025, at least 65 to 70% of workload will be on some sort of a on-prem private cloud kind of environment, and about 25 to 30% might go to public cloud. That's the kind of view that we hear from industry experts, and we also see that on the ground from our customers. So again, when you talked about the journey to multi-cloud, right? So when customers look at multi-cloud, they have to be careful on what they're getting into, or are their applications ready, right? If a customer is gonna do a typical lift and shift, most likely the cloud journey would fail. They should look at the application. They should look at whether the applications are cloud ready. As an initial step, what we generally suggest is, have an on-prem cloud setup, either using a hyper-converged infrastructure or a typical private cloud setup within on-prem, do the applications on-prem, and then burst into public cloud. That's the kind of journey we recommend to our customers.
Very interesting. And Venkat Varadarajan, I'd like you to stay with me because I think the folks from the industry have been fairly unanimous. Is that where scale and agility are really the industry keywords today? What, Venkat, in your view, is perhaps the best or the most suited, adequate orchestration and integration of legacy infrastructure with cloud journeys, which are emergent cloud journeys, especially for organizations that are looking at uncertainties, well, fairly being the norm?
Yeah, thanks for asking this. That's a very, very important question, right? So scale and agility are very important, no doubt about that, right? But when you look at the considerations for cloud, the factors go beyond those two, right? If you consider a typical application or workload, one should look at performance, one should look at security aspects. Along with security comes audit and compliance requirement, right? Um, and then third, how important, how critical is that application for your own company's IP? I'll give an example, right? At Intel, we develop state-of-the-art chips, right? So would we have our core R&D, which is developing the next generation chips, onto the public cloud? Probably no, right? So typically, if you look at banks,
Isn't that the notion that we're trying to dispel?
yeah, yeah. So some applications do go to public cloud. I mean, if you have burstable applications, say you have a video application, you want to launch an ad campaign, and you are launching an ad during Diwali time, right? So
Yeah,
there will be
indeed.
a lot of burst of that video. So that typically goes to public cloud. But then if you look at the core value applications, say for example, core banking applications for a bank, or a core billing and switching application for a telecom company, they tend to remain on-prem and on private cloud. So that's the kind of lens we take when we consider the applications. Also, you have, if you look at India, you have the data localization and compliance requirement. For example, you have digital payment, right? The digital payment data has to be in India. So you have
Yes,
to have the
indeed.
setup within India to have the compliance met. So that's the kind of broad lens we look at. there is no one size fit all for all the customers.
That's
But
not.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Saji, if I may be allowed to come to you, Saji, how do you enable within your sphere of work, consultation, and influence organizations to see beyond just the hype and actually make it, well, fairly easy and convenient for them to migrate into this new journey? How do you kind of make that simpler for them from specifically Microsoft's point of view?
See, we feel that digital transformation, like you said, while it can be just a buzzword, we spoke about scalability, flexibility, etc. But it is definitely much more than that, right?
True.
So, if you look at the way the world is moving today, at the rapid pace at which it's moving, those who have these capabilities will definitely be the future winners. Say, for example, we spoke about the multi-cloud architecture. The
Yes.
multi-cloud architecture that utilizes, let's say, the private, the public, and the hybrid cloud services can definitely be a smart investment strategy for many businesses, especially from a mid-market standpoint or even the, enterprise level organizations. See, why? Because it is not just a scalability or flexibility what the customer is looking. There are many more parameters which many times we don't consider that as a part of a customer's decision process, right? One is his ability to find the best in class provider, or could be a competitive pricing, agility, and robust security. Many other things are involved in it. That's why we say that the multi-cloud architecture can be one of the smartest investment strategy for many businesses, and that's how we see things moving forward.
Very, very powerful set of points. Srini, from Dell Technologies' perspective, really, scale and agility, of course, are given keywords that organizations are going to demand. Uh, how, in your estimate, and somebody who's at the heart of selling consultative-led technologies and solutions to organizations, where is the value inflection? Where is the business outcome inflection in the overall hybrid or multi-cloud journey, really?
Very, very relevant question, Arjun, considering the huge investment that has already gone on the legacy infrastructure.
Correct.
We strongly believe that time and money organizations have invested in building these robust environments are not going to go for waste. That is for sure. This is the reason why most organizations' cloud strategy includes on-prem cloud implementation with existing infrastructure as well. That's the kind of strategy which we are adopting to really help customers on that. At the end of the day, your applications and workloads are what brings your data to life. I think it's all boiled around the data actually. Perhaps customers have a long-standing and effective practice of utilizing many traditional applications to run their businesses, such as databases, ERPs, and so on. And these applications are critical to keep the lights on for their business environment. However, legacy infrastructure that are designed to support these traditional applications was not designed to run the next generation applications. I mean, the Microsoft and Intel can talk about the new generation applications using the AI technologies, ML technologies, but the traditional infrastructure was not really designed to support these kind of next generation applications. So in order to succeed and future-proof customer and future-proof the customer business environment, you need a consistent infrastructure along with consistent orchestration layer that can handle and optimize both the existing and legacy traditional applications and the next generation applications without compromising the performance for the business environment. So while multi-cloud, which is a combination of the private and public cloud, brings predictability and the control along with scale and agility, these multi-clouds can handle and optimize both traditional and next generation applications without compromising the business outcomes for the customer. That is where it is important, while we are suggesting a strategy and a solution to the customer, you take care of the legacy applications and take care of the legacy infrastructure, at the same time address the future needs with the next generation applications as well.
Very, very interesting set of points that you made, Srini. But gentlemen, I am going to come to you. So now we've spoken about scale, we've spoken about agility, spoken about the fact that, well, legacy applications and infrastructure are a reality, and that amongst the three of you, you will ensure that there are mechanisms and processes created such that they will make them play. So, gentlemen, I must equally ask you, and Saji, if I may be allowed to start with you, while scale and agility are of course given as mandates that are coming in from the industry, I think one of the other things that's coming in that I am increasingly hearing unanimously is in OEM and technology solutions providers' ability to help organizations enhance the rate of innovation, because rate of innovation really is tied to the whole concept of competitiveness and differentiation. How do you respond to that, Saji Kumar?
Yeah. So first of all, let me start with the mission of Microsoft. It says, you know, to enable each and every one of you and the organization in the planet to achieve more. That's a mission of the company. And there's a famous dialogue by our CEO which says, the customers of the industry doesn't respect tradition anymore. It only respects innovation. So, if you look at, we were talking about the cloud infrastructure all these while. See, even for an organization, if you look at one of the biggest advantages of orchestrating your cloud infrastructure is the long-term benefits, even if it's in the name of savings, what you call it. Because it not only will the optimization tools help reduce and improve your cloud service footprint, it also reduces the infrastructure staffing needs and other resources. So the continuous innovation process is linked to what technology is all about. We are seeing, certain cloud service providers already integrating, let's say, machine learning capabilities into your platform. So, through a multi-cloud strategy, the customer has the flexibility to pick up whom you want to go with, and certain tasks can be given to those who have the core competency in that particular field. That's what the benefit of innovation will bring to the technology.
Outstanding. Venkat, if I were to ask you to respond to the same thing, Intel, how do you help organizations through their multi-hybrid cloud journeys enhance rate of innovation, competitiveness, and differentiation in production solutions? Or
Yeah,
even customer experience approaches, for all
yeah,
we know.
sure, Arjun. So if you look at the cloud world, right? The key driving factor for the cloud world is the data, right? So you should have the ability to process the data faster, to move the data faster between the data centers, between the end customer to data center. And then number three, to store the data, to store more amount of data, right? So if you look at our innovation vectors at Intel, we constantly innovate around these three areas. One is compute. We help customers and partners with state-of-the-art processors in data center or at the edge, right? And number two, um, we have invented new type of memory called Optane persistent memory and other innovation that can help you to store data and process it faster. And then number three, it's not enough if you just store and process the data. You have to move the data between
Yes.
data centers and between the customer to the data center. That's where our innovations are around the network cards and silicon photonics that come into play. So these innovations across three broad areas of data center will help customers. And then to stay on the innovation piece, right? So if you look at the world today, most of the innovations occur around the edge and around the AI, like Saji was alluding to the AI,
True.
right? So we have the deep collaboration with the partners here, Dell and Microsoft Azure, where any customer can quickly get started on the edge innovation or an AI program to implement their innovations or their ideas, to be precise.
Very, very, very nicely put, very well articulated. Srini, if I may come to you with the same question, please, and I do have a view on the clock. But how at Dell Technologies do you enable organizations, end users and technology buyers really, to scale up the rate of innovation
Yeah.
through multi-cloud, hybrid cloud journeys?
Okay. Very interesting question, Arjun. Why I say that interesting is I think we all know that, okay, Dell Technologies provides the end data center IT infrastructure for the organizations. But while we provide all these end-to-end data center solutions, we all know that data is our new currency.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, data is our new currency. So it is all about once we store and protect the data, once we analyze the data, and once you do a lot of analysis based on the business outcomes, the question is, how do you monetize the data to really drive more and more business outcomes to the customers?
So true.
That is where the innovation has to come into picture. And if you ask me, does Dell Technologies do it alone? The answer is no. We work with our partner ecosystem. On one side, we have Microsoft and we have Intel on the other side. At the same time, we have lot of local partner ecosystems and ISV ecosystem as well. We partner with those guys to really bring life to this data, and then come up with a strategy to monetize this data, which will really help the customers' environments to really generate more and more revenue on that. That is the kind of new innovative ways of looking at those things. Yeah, IT infrastructure is good. We can store, protect, analyze the data, but how do you monetize the data along with the partner ecosystem is the innovation which definitely Dell Technologies is looking for. And we will partner with a lot of ISVs and the partner ecosystem to achieve this goal for the customers.
Outstanding. And I do, gentlemen, have a view on the clock. But we just have time for one very interesting a question to each of you. And Saji, if I may be able to start with
Sure.
you. With the benefit of hindsight, Saji Kumar, what would be your one big prediction, technology prediction, for Indian industry over the next 12 months?
I think, see, first of all, let's all accept that, this pandemic is putting the global economy itself into a tailspin for sure. Let's not hide from that fact, right? But however, being an industry leader, we don't see this as a long-term issue, but it's more of an opportunity which we see out of the crisis coming out. So, like I mentioned earlier, those companies who has let's say, a combination of a resilience and agility will definitely have an upper edge as we move forward. So, what is the change you are expecting? Uh, Digital transformation will be the biggest change that we all will see in our life. We already started using it in many ways, be it
True that.
your travel, your ticket booking, or your hotel booking, or day-to-day life. But that will be definitely the biggest change all of us will see, and that's the future of work as we all see.
Quite interesting, really. Venkat Vardarajan from Intel India, if I may come to you. Your single biggest prediction for Indian industry from a technology lens.
Yeah, even before this year started, all of us had a prediction for, let's say, the data will explode. We were thinking that it's gonna become some X zettabytes in 2022, right? Guess what? We have reached it today, right?
Yes,
The amount
indeed.
of time, the amount of time people spend on screen, whether it is a Netflix, whether it is work from home, the amount of
Or
data
Zoom, for all
generated.
we know.
Zoom, yeah. So the amount of data generated is humongous. We have already exceeded what we predicted.
Indeed,
So I
indeed.
would take that prediction back and then come back with a much higher number.
Very well, sir. And Srini Rao from Dell Technologies, your one single biggest prediction, sir.
Absolutely. I think carrying on what Saji has said, let's give some statistics to what Saji has made as a comment there. I think in 2010 and 2011, if I remember the year well, there was a prediction that it will generate somewhere close to 80 petabytes in a telecom network in kind of 18 hours kind of time frame.
Yeah, indeed, I should know. I was in telcos those days.
Absolutely. I think I'm sure you should be knowing these numbers when I rattle out those numbers. But today, as we speak in 2020, I can tell you that, and again, this was a prediction from one of the analysts like you itself, where there's close to 80 petabytes of data which is getting generated in 18 minutes in the telecom networks.
So true.
Okay, this is a huge amount of data which we are talking about, which is being generated by not only the machines, it is the IoT devices, and you name the instrumental devices today, everything is generating huge amount of data. Given the situation where we are generating huge amount of data, my prediction is the consolidating the data and predicting the data will go away. The decisions will be made at the edge location itself, which means the edge compute devices will become more and more powerful. They make the final decisions and do the compute and final decisions and send the final consolidated outcome to the central locations. So in short, I think edge computing is the one which will take off in a big way. And we at Dell Technologies, along with the Intel and Microsoft and other OEM partners as well, we are already spearheading in terms of driving some leading technologies on the edge location.
Indeed, and thank you so very much. For the audience, I think that was fairly clear, is that hybrid cloud journeys are going to take on imperatives in an unprecedented fashion for the simple reason that they alone, perhaps, will be the best and the most capable to handle the volumes of data that each few can exist and expect within your organizations. And with that, which is pretty much what we have time for in episode 2 of the Digital Dialogues with Arjun Vishwanathan, I would like to take this opportunity, gentlemen. Saji Kumar, thank you so very much. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure
Pleasure.
as always. Srini, amazing points. Please accept our gratitude and thankfulness. And Venkat, thank you very, very much once again.
Thanks a
It
lot.
was an absolute delight
Thank you.
speaking to each of you. And I can assure you I speak on behalf of the audience too. To the audience, thank you for joining us for the second episode of the Digital Dialogues. Please don't forget to fill up the feedback forms. They are very, very important to us. And stay tuned for next week when we come in with the third episode. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Arjun. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Saji, Venkat, and Srini for sharing your views. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of episode 2. Thank you for attending today's episode, and we would earnestly request you to please do take out a few minutes to fill up the feedback form. Your feedback and recommendations are important to us. Thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned at the same time next week for the next episode of the Digital Dialogues. Thank you, good day, and God bless.